Hey everybody, welcome to the pre-video for the AutoCAD Design for 3D printing courses. The courses themselves assume that you're at least a little bit familiar with AutoCAD. If you're new to AutoCAD, this video should help you navigate around in the software. It's intended to familiarize you with AutoCAD's user interface. So today we're going to cover 10 topics. Start new drawing, application button, quick access toolbar, tabs ribbon area, drawing area, command bar, space tabs, status toggle bar, viewport cube, navigation bar, and finally keyboard, mouse controls, and help library. Alright, so let's open up the software. I'll double click on AutoCAD here. Now when you launch the app, this is how it'll look when it opens. You can see that there's a lot going on, but let's just power through the basics. Most of the action happens in the drawing area, so let's get started. So creating a fresh empty drawing can be done in a couple of ways. The most obvious way here is to just click this big box that says Start Drawing. So I'll go ahead and click it. Alright, so now we've opened up a brand new drawing. Now if you look up here, you'll see that this is drawing 1. If I click on the Start tab, you'll see that the start area never really went away. Now if I wanted to open up another drawing, there's a little plus sign here. I could just click on that and I can open up as many drawings as I want that way. Alright, so let's go look at the application button, and when I click on it, all this stuff should be pretty familiar to you, just the open, save, save as, things like that. And right next to it is the quick access toolbar, which is pretty much everything inside of the application button, but it's just always there on the screen. Alright, so let's talk about the tabs and the ribbon area. Up here is the set of tabs that are available in AutoCAD. We have Home, and Insert, Annotate, and so on and so forth. Now underneath each tab is the ribbon, and each ribbon has a set of panels associated with it. So here we have Draw, Modify, Annotate, Layers, Block, and etc. Inside each panel are the individual commands or actions. All you have to do is click on the icon to activate it in your drawing. If you don't know what something is, you can hover your cursor over an icon and a small description of the window will open up. In some cases, if you hover over a little longer, a slightly larger window will appear that further describes the action. Okay, so this whole area inside the middle here is the drawing area. So this is where the magic happens. Down here is the command bar or command line. A lot can happen here. Whenever you start a command, all the options for that command appear. A quick example. Notice that the command line currently says type a command. If I click on the line icon, watch what it changes to. It gives me the instruction to start my line somewhere. If I click in the space somewhere, the command line changes and tells me to click somewhere else to finish the line. Now the line command will remain active until I hit enter or escape. Notice that if I click somewhere else again, the option changes slightly. Now I have the option to close the shape. I can type C and hit enter. Down here at the bottom left are the space tabs. The first tab is the model space. Model space is the area where the drawing mainly occurs. The other tabs are paper layouts. They're what your drawing would look like on a piece of paper. You do have some limited drawing ability here, but I wouldn't recommend it. This is the viewport. If you double click inside of it, you can pretty much do anything here as in the model space, but it just feels a little clunky. It kind of feels like setting up your PC outside of a window of your house, but you're using the computer from inside the house, reaching through the window. It's possible, but there's really no reason for it. The main reason why I use it is to set up different views of a 3D object when I want to print something. To close the viewport, just double click outside somewhere and you are back in paper space. Okay, let's go back to model space. Over to the other side is the status toggle bar. These icons turn on and off a variety of different conditions to aid you in your drawing. Let's say that I wanted to draw a right triangle. I could eyeball it like this. I'll click the line action and start my line. And you'll notice wherever I move my cursor, the length of the line is displayed. So I'm going to draw this at a length of 10. I'm going to try to make that as vertical as I can. So I'll just type in 10 and it'll lock it in at that length. And I'm going to make this as horizontal as I can and type in 10 and finish it off by typing C and enter and closing it off. By the way, I'm not going to bother with units in this lesson. This could be 10 millimeters or 10 miles. For now, we're just going to call it 10. Now, if I check the angle, let's see how close I got. That's not bad. That's actually pretty close. But if I toggle on ortho mode, then all my lines will draw perfectly horizontal or vertical unless my cursor snaps to something like this. All right, so here is ortho mode. I'll click on it and you can see that it's now turned on by its highlighted blue. I'll come over here and click line and start my line. And again, I want to do a length of 10 and another length of 10 and C for close. Just to check, let's see how we did on our angle. All right, so we can see that it's exactly 90 degrees. Speaking of snap, another setting that can be turned on and off is the object snap or O snap. For any given object, you can snap to that part of your drawing if it has that feature. For example, let's say that I wanted to bisect the hypotenuse of this right triangle with a line that starts at the right angle vertex. Now I know that sounds like a mouthful, but basically I want to draw a line from this point here all the way across and hit this line perpendicularly. Now if you remember your geometry, as long as I draw a line perpendicular to this line, I'll cut it in half. Again, I can eyeball it and get pretty close, but I can use O-snap to get it exactly. Okay, so this is the O-snap toggle, and right next to it is the drop down that selects all the different options. And I can see that I currently have endpoint selected, but I want to also now turn on perpendicular and turn on O-snap. Now you might think that it's a good idea to turn them all on and just forget about it, but that's not a good idea. It can be pretty distracting and it's possible to snap to something wrong and mess up your drawing if everything is turned on. You'll get a sense of what's useful and not useful over time. All right, so I don't want to draw a perfectly horizontal or vertical line, so I'm going to turn off ortho mode and start a new line. All right, so I'm going to start my line here at the vertex, and it is snapping to the endpoints of these two lines here. And you can see the snap is indicated by the little green square icon. That is the symbol for endpoint. So I'm going to click to start my point and then bring my cursor over to this end. And you can see this little green symbol here. It's kind of hard to see. That is the right angle symbol. Now if I move my cursor closer to one end or the other, you'll notice that it's going to want to snap to that area. Whatever's highlighted is, whenever I click my mouse, is what is going to snap to it. So I can have my cursor all the way over here and click my mouse and it's going to snap to the exact perpendicular point. So what if I wanted to hit the midpoint of this line from another line? I can turn on another mode from O-snap. I'll turn on midpoint, so that whenever I draw any line, it'll snap to the exact midpoint of this line. So let's give it a try. Click on the line. I'll start here and come down. All right, so we can see that it snapped to the midpoint. Now this symbol for midpoint is a triangle. And again, I can slide over here. It'll snap there if I wanted, or I can snap here, but I wanted to snap straight to that midpoint. And there are a lot of different options that you can snap to, turn on and off. In the upper right hand corner of the drawing space is the view cube. The cube isn't really useful for 2D drawings, but it's pretty useful for 3D objects. The view cube allows you to change your view of the drawing space. Clicking in different regions on the cube will move to that view. Let's give it a try. There are also some rotating arrows here to help reorient yourself. As a general rule, you'll always want to draw when in top view. That'll change as we move along in the course, but this serves for now. Okay, let's look at the navigation bar. Here it is right here. This bar is more of a free-form tool to help you change your view. This bar can do all the things your keyboard and mouse can do, like zoom and pan and orbit. What's the use of it then? Well, it's an alternative interface that a lot of people find useful. It also helps to have the nav bar if you're on a laptop using a trackpad or on some tablets. Okay, so let's try some of these out. We'll start at the top and work our way down. When I click on the full navigation wheel, this little interface follows my mouse around now. The key for using this properly is just using the left mouse button. So whenever I click on any one of these things and press and hold it, it'll perform that function. I'm not going to go into rewind and all of these other things that are inside of here. That's a little bit more advanced. We're just going to do zoom, orbit, and pan. So if I start off at zoom, when I press and hold the zoom button, I'm going to move my mouse up and it zooms in, and if I move my mouse back, it zooms out, zoom in and zoom out. If I press and hold the orbit button, you can see that it kind of changes the view around here. If I press and hold the pan button, I can now slide my view around. And to get out of this, I can either press the escape key or just click the little X in the upper right corner of it. All right, so my view is currently askew, so I'm going to use my view cube to reset myself. I'm going to click top, and it brings me right back to an orthographic view of my drawing. Now, this is the perfect segue for talking about using the keyboard and mouse for a lot of functions that can be found somewhere else on the screen. I learned AutoCAD a long time ago, and the software has changed a whole lot since then. What has made it easier for me to transition from version to version is the mouse and keyboard controls and commands. For example, I can type L for line as opposed to clicking the line button in the ribbon. I'll just type L on the keyboard and press enter. And draw my line like normal. Let's add a new concept. It's not a basic one, but it's one to show the point that keyboard controls are pretty fast. Let's say that I want to divide this line into 3 equal parts. I can type div for divide and select my line, type 3, and hit enter. Now I know it looks like nothing happened, but there are now nodes on the line that divide it into 3 parts. Now if I wanted to draw a line from these nodes, I can. Let me turn it on. Now I can draw a new line and slide my cursor along the line and find where it snaps to the node. There it is right there. You can see it looks a little bit like a crosshair. So now I can just click that where it snaps and finish my line. And I'll do it again at the other node. So I'm gonna just hit L for line, enter, and slide along until I find it. And there it is, and I'll draw it again. All right, so now I've divided this line into 3 equal parts. But what if I didn't want to hunt around for the node? I just wanted to see it on the screen. Here's one more concept I'm going to add. I can type in DDP for draw display point type and select a new point type. DDP, enter. These are all the different kinds of points that I can make a node look like. So I'll just go ahead and click this little X here and click OK. Now we can easily see what that node looks like. We can, if I pan around, you can see that it's pretty easy to see. Now I have no idea where the divide command is or where the draw display point type command is, where they live in the ribbon, but I do know the keyboard commands. Now of course you're not going to just magically know all these commands, but if you want to find them, you can use AutoCAD help. Now most people just disregard the help function, but AutoCAD's help function is actually quite useful. Like most libraries, you can press F1 to open it. Let's try divide. I'm going to type in divide here. Press enter. And of course it'll just yield all the different relevant results. And I'm going to just click on the very first one here. Now this result shows me the basics on where to find it and how to do it. Notice that I could either follow the written breadcrumbs here, or I can click on the icon right next to find, and let's see what happens. When I click on that icon, it finds it in the ribbon under the whatever tab it's in, and it opens it up and points a big red arrow at it. So if I didn't know the divide command, but I wanted to divide, I could still find it somewhere. And so this is very, very useful. Okay, a couple of last points on keyboard and mouse controls before we finish up. Other than straight up drawing, I think the most common actions that you're going to be using for your keyboard or mouse is going to be how you navigate around the space. And that's going to be zoom, pan, orbit, rotate. So let's show you how to do those with the mouse and keyboard. All right, to zoom is just simply using the scroll wheel. Scrolling in one direction zooms in, and scrolling the other direction zooms out. Staying with the scroll wheel, if I press and hold the scroll wheel, that performs the pan function here, so I can just slide around. Now all of the rest of these will involve pressing and holding the scroll wheel. If I press and hold the shift button and then the scroll wheel, I can now orbit my view. If I press and hold Control Shift and the scroll wheel, I can now rotate my view. I'm not going to go into the difference between orbit and rotate. Everything is a rabbit hole with AutoCAD, so just know that these are the options for you. Now let's reset myself. Okay, so that's it. This should be enough information to help you navigate around in AutoCAD. I hope you learned something, and I'll see you in the course AutoCAD Design for 3D Printing.